welcome into the Eye on Northeast Kansas Hear Me, See Me podcast. Hear Me, See Me is a project of WIBW TV, our year-long effort to raise awareness of mental health, some of the issues people face, some of the resources that are available, and beyond all, letting everyone know that there is hope. We're also sharing stories, and today we are joined by Ms. Phelica Glass. Phelica, you're a social worker, you're a counselor, you are just a person who is knowing everything. Maybe not knowing everything, but if anybody knows you, Phelica, they know what a positive person you are. I've heard you speak, and I'm always motivated by you. How do you come by that positivity?
You know, it's a choice every day. Every day it's a choice. I think that, you know, doing what I do for a living in terms of helping people with life's struggles and being a human who has her own life struggles, it's important to understand that I get to control. I have some degree of control over my attitude about my day. And it's not always positive. It's just when people see me, it's positive.
Do you have like a mindset? Is this like a, you know, how you gear up for a sporting event? You have to have that kind of pep talk every day?
Well, I don't think I need a pep talk, though. I think that I am blessed with a positive demeanor in most situations. So I wake up knowing that every day that my feet hit the floor, the devil is mad because I'm going to change somebody's life. So that's my personal attitude about being able to get up. So I try not to let my problems and issues control my day, but it doesn't mean that they don't have moments in my day where it's like, I want to get rid of this. I can't live with this, you know?
Oh, yeah. Professionally, what do you do?
So professionally, you know, I'm a therapist and I help people with grief and loss issues, children through adults, right? And so they're my primary people that I care for. Other people that I care for have general life issues like me. Some of them may be diagnosed with ADHD or suffer with depression. And if they are struggling in mild forms of that, meaning they're still able to function in their life, but they can see moments or places where their mental illness is interfering in their functionality, then I try to support them. If they have severe issues where they are not functioning in life because of their mental health issues, then I try to get them someone who is an expert in the area that they need.
Interesting. And going back to what you had said earlier, that every day is a choice. Yeah. To be positive. I think that might resonate with some folks, because I know myself too, and I mean, blame social media if you want, but there is this kind of perception. Sometimes I get to looking at the pictures and I think, why is everybody so happy and why am I not as happy as they are every single day? It's a choice that we have to make. It's
Absolutely.
not automatic necessarily.
So no, now for the people who are going to be like, now she's a therapist, she knows better. There are cortisol and brain chemicals that impact mood. And I 100% believe that there are some people who are chemically impacted by, their brain is impacted by the chemicals in their brain. So they may be naturally sad persons, right? But people who are naturally sad should get support. Right? And they get the coping skills that are needed in order to have the ability to choose. Someone like me, I don't struggle with depression all the time. I have seasonal depression on occasions, and I may have issues with depression when I go through a long streak of death and loss like I am in right now. So I can find periods in my life where it's like it's a little harder to be happy, but I am naturally happy around other people. Like, people give me good energy and I feed off of it, and or I find that I am able to give someone else the energy that they need to be able to be a little bit more positive, right? So it's not about the 24/7, am I happy? It's about when I'm in the presence of others, can I be on? Absolutely. Are there times when I will say, I apologize? I shouldn't have to apologize. I can't be on because I'm dealing with something. That's okay too.
As part of what we've looked at with the Hear Me, See Me campaign, when you go to a social setting and somebody says, how are you? Our automatic reply is, oh, good, how are you? Mm-hmm. Is that an okay answer? Or should we be honest? I mean, to what extent should we be honest so we're not bringing everybody down?
Absolutely. So I think there's that. It's a gauge. So I believe that if I'm talking to someone that I believe genuinely wants to know how I'm doing, I may say to them, you know what? I am not okay, but I'm going to be okay. Because that's my truth, maybe that day, right? However, there are other times where people say, oh, I'm okay, just to not get into their stuff. I don't think it's okay to be in a public gathering and just dump all your stuff on someone, and now everyone in the room is looking at you and them feeling awkward, right? So I think some of that is boundaries, engaging when is an appropriate space to share all of my stuff. With my girlfriends, yes, I can be 100% honest. I am someone who tends to walk in honesty, and I will say to people, I just am not okay today, but I'm here. Right? And so someone that may key someone to, oh, let me give you a hug, or I'm glad that you're still here, and allow people to have the capacity to make the decision for themselves about whether or not they can hold your stuff. I think sometimes we say, I'm okay, taking it away from someone to hold our stuff with us. We don't have to do this thing alone. If we were all to walk in our honesty and allow each other to support one another, we may find that we are healthier together than we are alone.
How do we reach that point of living in honesty?
I think first we start by being honest with ourselves in the mirror every day, right? I think so many times people wake up and they have coached themselves into being something that they're not. So whether that is, I'm going to put on this fake smile and I'm going to pretend that I'm okay, when in reality, they are busting at the seams and about to cry, right? It's that person that is struggling to hold life together because everybody else needs them to hold it together, that is at their most weakest point. I think that if we can stand in the mirror and be honest with ourselves and pray to whoever, whatever deity we have, and be honest, like lay this stuff down. There are some times that I get my journal out and I'm like, I don't like this and I don't like that and this sucks and I need direction. Sometimes it's just enough to get it out, right? We don't get it out enough.
How do we reach the balance though in knowing, okay, or maybe this is part of what a coping mechanism is. So if I'm being honest with myself, a lot of people have asked over the past year, how are you adjusting to your responsibilities as news director in addition to still reporting and doing shows and doing things like this? And when I'm being honest, I say, well, some days are better than others. And I often will tell people that because it is an adjustment. It's a big adjustment. And so there are some mornings where you get up and you're kind of like, man, or you get home at night and you're saying, am I doing this? Am I doing it all? Or I start saying, I am not doing anything well, but boy, I got the dishes done last night, so at least I got the dishes done. Or, part of it was learning, okay, I didn't get this done today, but in this position, because coming from a position where everything had to be done by 5, 6, or 10 o'clock because it had to be done or it didn't air, now I'm in a position where there are certain things that I've learned, okay, I didn't get it done today, I can put it on a list and get to it tomorrow. It will keep. I don't have to get everything done today.
Absolutely.
So how do you employ some mechanisms to be honest with yourself? Because honesty isn't that I'm not doing anything, because I am,
right.
So then it's like the second step of honesty. There's honesty, and then it's the stop being dramatic and really be honest and re-examine.
Absolutely. So I think it's that place of, okay, here's what I have accomplished. I'll start over. Here's what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. Are these feelings my truth? What can I do about them in this moment? What are my successes? Because I think that if we took a better evaluation of our successes, it would actually change our view of how our day was, right? The other thing is that I explain to people is that it's important for us not to take one moment of bad feelings and equate it to a bad day.
Okay.
I might be upset and angry and bothered for 10 minutes out of a whole day and say, oh, my whole day is shot. You ever heard someone say that?
Yes.
When in reality, no, that 10 minutes is shot, because I have the ability to go and do a reset. I may need to step away. I might need to take a walk. I might need to take a nap. Whatever that is, I still have some power and some control. I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for our ability to be able to say, you know what, I'm not feeling good right now. What do I need? Get what I need, and then start again.
We are so willing to feel bad, but it's like we don't feel like we have the right to feel good, because my goodness, Phelica, if we celebrate our successes, then we're just not being humble and we're just being full of ourselves and egotistical.
Well, anyone that knows me knows I am all about the celebration, right? And I think the reason why, so part of my celebration spirit comes from the idea that I was 25, I lost my brother, my mom had a stroke on her front steps, and I gave birth to twins that were severely premature, all in a 7-month time period. And I was consumed with all of the sadness. And one day I decided I don't want to be sad all the time. And yes, I've had some difficult moments. Maybe people don't see all the good I'm doing, but I see it. So I want to celebrate my good. And the other thing I didn't want is for people to come to my funeral and tell lies, right? So at your funeral, you don't get to hear all the positive things people say or all the things that they may make up. You don't get to hear that. I want to share in people's positivity, and I want people to share in my positivity while I can hear it, while it still feeds me. I want those seeds now. So celebration isn't about gloating, right? It isn't about I'm better than you. Celebrating is really about giving myself and yourself the energy and seeds that you need to keep going. I need to celebrate this one win so that I can get to the next win. That's okay.
It is okay. And I'm glad you brought up your own journey because you specialize in grief counseling. And when you just said that, you said you just summed up your journey in like 5 seconds. Yeah. But I don't think your journey was 5 seconds.
Absolutely
What was it like for you as you were experiencing the losses? How low did you get?
Oh, extremely low. So, it started with some depersonalization, derealization of like sitting in the classroom. So my brother died while I was still in grad school, the last 2 months. And I'm sitting in class and I am sitting in my desk, in my chair, but I see myself across the room screaming, yelling for help, right? That detachment from self. Emotionally, I just was not well. I was having panic attacks at night, like when I would go to my apartment, I was alone. I technically was alone in New Orleans, had just met friends, and it was darkness. It was dark. It was lots of gray days. And when I say gray, I mean like I'm looking at you, but there's like a gray film that's happening in my life where I can't see clear through to the next moment. My mom having this massive stroke on her front steps 2 months to the day later was life altering. In that same time period, I found out I was pregnant and gave birth to those kids super early. At some point while my children were in the hospital, I began to experience severe depression. I went to work because I had to, not because I wanted to. It was, I needed a roof over my children's head when they got out of the hospital. It was being driven by what was needed, not what I physically felt like doing. So those evenings were lonely. They were full of tears. It was full of darkness. The breaking point for me was having an altercation with my then spouse, getting in my car, barefooted on a Sunday morning, leaving him with all of our kids, and driving erratically to get to my mom. And I got to my mom's house, beating on the door, standing outside, crying, face full of tears, and my mom opens the door and I fall into her arms screaming, I want my brother, I want my brother. Now at this point my brother had been gone for like 2 years, but in my emotions I was longing for him. I was craving for him. This was my little brother. And I found myself just broken and in pieces. And my mom hugged me and my dad hugged me and they told me that I was okay, that everything would be okay. But it was in that moment that I decided I needed to get therapy. So I did see a therapist following this really big moment in my life. And it was just getting to a place of restart, like dealing with the sadness, dealing with the pain. And in doing that, it opened up the space for me to identify what did I want my career to look like. And what I knew is that I did not want people to feel like they had to experience grief process alone, that they could find a being, if not many, that were there to walk through that specific process with them. Because walking with someone through grief is about going with them on the journey. It's not about fixing them. And I don't think therapy is about fixing people. Therapy in and of itself is about going on a journey to health and wellness mentally with someone. So for me, it was that defining moment that was like, if I can come to a place of brokenness, there are other people out here who are broken and just going through the motions, but they need help. And I wanted to be part of the help.
Did you know, as you were going through it, did you know you were broken?
No, I don't think I did. And people will hear me now talk about people are not broken. because I had to go through that healing process of, you hear people say, oh, you're broken, you're broken. I'm not broken. I had emotional hurts, right? So I was having an experience. And no, in the moment, I didn't know. I thought this was, because I'm also religious, and people tell you, pray about it. Seek God. You're not praying enough. You got to get to church. Are you reading your Bible? All of these, we're praying for you. Well, I felt like in the moment, their prayers weren't working.
Where is God?
Because,
I mean, and it does make people doubt. Where's God if they're praying and God's not answering?
Absolutely. And so it was in that I realized that I can have God. I can say my prayers. People can say their prayers. But I also think that it's important that people recognize that God's answer sometime is in all of these health professionals that he has provided for us, who are trained and skilled to help us through the journey. They are the lifeboat here on earth sometimes. And I was willing to get in the lifeboat and let someone go with me.
I think you have to learn that lesson too, that broken doesn't mean irreparably damaged.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So did you feel like, even if you didn't realize you were broken, did you feel like you had to still be alone? Because gosh, who wants to hear about all my trouble?
Well, I think that's it, right? I think it's about recognizing that I'm having this experience that has broken me in the idea that I can't function the way I want to, or I can't function the way I should, and realizing that I don't want other people to feel what I'm feeling, because I didn't want to hurt my mom anymore by talking about my pain. I wanted my mom to do her healing journey. No one really understood what it was like to be a mom of a NICU preemie, not one, but two of them, and they were in the NICU 99 and 107 days. No one talked, like they talked to you about the hospital experience, but no one prepares you for all of the life issues that are going to come raising those babies. And so I think for me, it was really about, I don't want to do this alone. And if there's a professional that will be willing to listen, I want to go there so I don't hurt others along the way. I've since grown, and I know that if I can get people to listen who are in my circle and listen early, I may not need therapy.
How do you find your people? And if people don't want to listen, maybe you think you've found your people, but those people don't want to listen, at what point do you have to make the decision that these maybe aren't my people after all?
So I think it's important to recognize it may not mean that they're not your people because they can't listen or they don't want to listen. It may be about finding the right person who is your person for that event in your life. So recently, going through all of the recent grief experiences, I've asked myself, why haven't people called me? Why don't people want to check in on me? The few calls that I got were great, but it was like the people that you thought were your closest people, maybe they couldn't because they were experiencing their own stuff. And so I think it's important to give people grace, right? But in finding your people, it's really about taking the time to build relationship. Who do I have a relationship with that I can be blatantly honest? I can call in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter day or night, time, distance, whatever. They're going to answer and they're going to respond. You learn that through relationship with people. So I don't think that happens overnight. I believe that we have to get to a place where we truly spend time with people. I know that with COVID, we've become real distant. With cell phones, we've gone to texting. But there's something about having an intimate conversation with someone. It's something about being able to say, hey, are you busy? Can we go to lunch? Or simply sending a message saying 911 and everybody being like, where are we meeting? Right? So I think we need that.
And so that was kind of your journey, what led you to become a grief counselor today and specialized people today. How does that give you an extra empathy you think that maybe people need when they're reaching out for help?
You know, I think it's important that as therapists, we have all these rules about what we can and can't do, right? But it's important for people to know that you're human. And so I believe that my journey allows me to connect with people emotionally so that I am able to remain professional, but empathize to the degree of recognizing that even though you may have lost your brother and I may have lost my brother, we didn't experience the same loss. So I can't sit in front of you and say, oh, I know how that feels. I don't know how that feels for you. I know how that feels for me. And so having that personal journey, it really is about have I healed? Have I connected with my own stuff? Am I able to be honest with myself so that my stuff doesn't become their stuff? The worst thing I can do as a therapist is have someone come into my office and they leave feeling like they gave me therapy. So my stuff has got to be taken care of. So there are days when I will call clients and say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to meet today because I'm not mentally healthy, or I don't have the space to be fully present for you today because I'm experiencing my own loss. There are clients that I will not see for a period of time. For example, when my grandson died by suicide, I didn't see clients that died by suicide or not died, but that were survivors of suicide, right, because that would touch my own grief in a way that I wasn't healed. So there are a lot of safety factors that I take as a therapist to make sure that I'm in a healthy place to care for my clients.
How, too, do we make ourselves understand and realize that everybody has, as you kind of mentioned, everyone has their own experience and experiences it differently, but also not trying to impart what we're feeling? How do we become better listeners, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Start there. How do we become better listeners?
I think sometimes it's about practicing silence, right? So I can be present with you and I want to hear what you're saying, but I also want to be able to feel what you're saying. So we call that active listening. Active listening means I'm in a place where I'm going to receive from you in order to identify what I need to give you back. Sometimes that give back is simply the presence of knowing that you were heard and you were seen. And other times it's about gleaning enough information to give you back, hey, so what I heard you say was, how can we get that? Or you have an appointment coming up and you're telling me that you're fearful. Is there someone that can go with you, right? Or can I go with you? Being able to be that for your person and knowing that typically when a person is struggling and they're needing you to listen, they're not needing you to fix it. So if I could give anyone a tip, it's recognizing that people aren't looking to be fixed. They're looking to be heard.
If we are the person who is struggling, needs that support, the flip side of that is, how do we keep from falling into the trap of, well, yes, we know we're struggling and we want someone to listen to us, but I also don't want you to feel bad as you're listening, so I try to make you more comfortable. And by that, for example, the best I can give is to give personal experience after I was a victim of violent crime and I would run into people, sometimes you'd see people who'd be like, well, kind of what you were saying, give people grace. I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know what to say to you because it is awkward. I mean, how do you say to somebody, so, what was it, how are you doing after you had that gun to your head or after your loved one passed away, whatever the situation might be. Or sometimes after that, then, you'd find yourself then, or I at least would find myself trying to put them at ease and make them more comfortable. When I guess when you reflect on it, that's really not my job. Correct. I'm the one who's struggling. I'm the one who needs some support right now. I shouldn't be making you feel better about it.
Right. And I think it's just that. It is just that. It is recognizing within ourselves that our experience is just that. It's ours. And if someone is inviting themselves to journey with us, then they're saying that they're prepared to walk alongside of us. And I don't have to make you feel comfortable. And recognizing that this journey we're taking together, will have some uncomfortable spaces. And I don't have to make you feel better, and you don't have to make me feel better. The journey is how I get better.
Fantastic advice. Does it always have to be professional help?
Absolutely not.
I mean, so for you, when your kids were in the NICU and you said nobody really knows what that experience is like, did you find other NICU parents that you could connect with so you could kind of share, even though you all are in your own unique experiences and spaces, you at least have that shared experience?
Yes. So I do distinctly remember one mom that we shared experiences with each other. We connected just meeting for coffee in the NICU, visiting at the same times, running into each other, checking in, like genuinely checking in, and being able to say, this is the roughest journey I've traveled. My twins were born. There were several other twin sets, and they all ended up in schools together.
I was going to say, how old are your twins now?
Yeah, my twins are amazing. Awesome. They are amazing. They're 22, just had a birthday, so they're fabulous. But I think that recognizing that we all are traveling a different journey, but we can still connect and communicate was amazing. So I don't believe that everyone needs a professional to get help if we're able to create and have genuine and authentic interactions with people in our life that allows us space to heal naturally and without a professional, right? So I think that it's important to have people that we see, people that we hear, and people that see and hear us. That may be organically in your family, it may be in some of your friendships, it may be in support groups that you find. I think that support groups are amazing. I tell people that you need a therapist if whatever you are experiencing begins to interfere in your functional ability to do life. If your functioning is deteriored in any way, then you need support who is trained to help get you on track. It's not about your friends not being good enough. It's really about getting the support that is necessary to prevent you from being in a severe or dangerous situation. I felt like I was in a very dangerous situation to get behind the wheel of a car, driving erratically, racing to my mom. That was a very bad space to be in. I'm glad that I had my mom and she was back to the degree that I could get what I needed from her. But I don't want others to do that. I want you to feel like, you know what, I'm having some really bad thoughts. I need to talk to my mom. I need to talk to my brother, my sister, my best friend, because they're going to love me unconditionally in spite of what I'm thinking or feeling. I want you to be able to say, you know, my depression is curbing my appetite. My depression is interfering in my sleep. Or maybe I don't even recognize that it's depression like I didn't. And I wake up one day and I'm like, wow, I've gained 20 pounds. I haven't been to the gym. I'm not eating well. Something's wrong here. Talk to your primary care doctor. They will get you in the headed in the right direction. But you have to say something.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can provide answers. You have shared that ADHD was a lesson you didn't know about till you were an adult.
I was an adult, absolutely.
How did that help you understand yourself and then maybe come up with some of those other strategies that assisted you getting through everything else?
Yeah, the biggest thing was I learned why it was so difficult for me to keep things organized, right? It was like things would be everywhere. I might know exactly where it is, but everyone else just sees pure chaos around me. So learning that I was an adult learner doing life with these ADHD features. So for me, it presented as just pure chaos, losing things, disorganized and missing deadlines. And that, you know, in case management, you can't do any of those things. So for me, it was about learning the skills. So here are some things I can learn to organize, use sticky notes. Sticky notes are my best friend now. And learning how to allow others to help. So I might say to someone, hey, you're really good at organizing. There's this project or this piece of a project that really needs someone who can organize. That's not my strong suit. Would you mind doing that? So it allowed me to learn how I could use someone else's strengths and my areas of growth and learn to work together so that the projects got done and they were fabulous, right? So it was about learning about myself and recognizing that those things didn't mean that they were a weakness, but they were areas where I needed growth. And in learning that I could grow in those meant partnering with other people who had those skills and then learning how to incorporate some of those things that would work for me.
I think finally, too, your whole life is a lesson in hope. Yeah. How do we not lose sight of the hope?
I think just remembering that it isn't about the moment, it's about the lifespan. And so when I look at my life, I can tell you some really horrible stories about my life, but I get to choose which of those stories sit in the forefront. And I choose the happy stories. I choose those stories that represent victory and triumph. I recently was in an article and I shared that there are many great things about my life. Growing up with a lot of African American educators, seeing people that looked like me be successful gave me hope. And so if you could identify one thing in your life, whether it's a family member, a goal that you're working towards, even your own face, you know, I often tell people, I promise if you meet me once, you'll never forget you met me. It's not out of arrogance, it's out of the sheer fact that I'm somebody great that everyone should know. I believe that. And so when you believe in something huge about yourself, it will propel you to keep going. So in spite of what you're looking at, remember, it's a moment in the time. It's not an identifier of your entire life. Keep going. It gets better.
Well, I believe in you too.
Yay! Congratulations!
Phelica Glass, it is always amazing to visit with you. I appreciate you so very much. I learned things today. We do want everyone to know that if you are experiencing a crisis or someone you love is experiencing a crisis, the 988 hotline is there for you to help. If you'd like to reach out to other resources, we have a whole bunch of them locally around Northeast Kansas and nationwide organizations that can help you connect. Go to WIBW.com/hearmeseme. It is all there for you. Phelica, thank you. And to just everyone, we hear you, we see you, and thank you. You matter.